I've always kind of thought that before people would ever be ready for this information about the spiritual use of cannabis, a few things would have to take place. Industrial hemp would have to become a reality, and that's a reality now. You know, pretty well anybody you mention cannabis, marijuana to, they know about industrial hemp. You know, I saw hemp go from a completely unknown word to a forgotten word to where, you know, little old ladies in the supermarket are getting hemp granola and buying hemp clothes in department stores. And that's because the information about hemp spread through the masses, even against the resistance of the media, who were quite reluctant to report on hemp in the early years. This is what I would call like the 100th monkey theory. And let me explain this. This is the 100th monkey theory is based on the observations of some naturalists off the coast of Japan. There were these little islands, and these monkeys lived on these little islands, and they had their own little private colonies. So they made good observation things because they're isolated in their own little way. And they were observing these monkeys for some years, and the monkeys liked a fruit, but when it fell on the sand, they didn't really like eating it because it got sand and it got in their teeth and stuff. And then one day, a little monkey picked up some fruit, went over, washed it in the water, and began to eat it. And because it was having a hard time competing with the other monkeys in the trees, right? And so it thought of this innovative way to clean the fruit off and get to the fruit. And that monkey's mother, it copied this monkey. And then other monkeys started observing this behavior, and they copied it. And soon, all sorts of monkeys on this one island started doing this. And then lo and behold, on the other islands, the other monkeys started doing this as well. And it's kind of like if an idea spreads enough, it reaches like a critical mass, and that idea takes hold. And so now we have the idea of industrial hemp and all those uses implanted with marijuana. When people think of marijuana, that's part of the word marijuana, part of the meaning of the word marijuana. Now, we have the same situation just taking place with medical marijuana. We've seen the knowledge about medical marijuana spread throughout the masses. Now it's in the mainstream media. And people, when they think of marijuana, marijuana is medicine. I'm not against medical marijuana. I'm not against hemp. Now, when we take the information about the religious history of cannabis, and particularly here in the West where the Bible plays such a major role, and the reality is the majority of the people that are for the drug war are basically Christians. That's why so many of these faith-based drug treatment programs, when we take the information about cannabism, about Jesus' healing ministry of cannabis, to that point of critical mass, liberation will be ours. People won't just say, we want it legalized. They will demand that it be legalized. When they find out that Jesus healed with cannabis, they're going to want access to that same healing plant. That'll be part of their spiritual history, and they will demand it. So what we really need to do is to take that information out and spread it out as much as we can. And get it out so that even people that don't believe it will go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that, Jesus used it. Even if they don't believe it, just the idea of it and them talking about it with other people, it'll spread the idea. And the idea will hold because we have the documentation. That's why the hemp thing didn't disappear, because the information was there. Once Jack unlocked the floodgates of hemp information, all the dominoes fell into place because that historical information was there. Likewise with this cannabis information, the historical information is there. We could document that cannabis was the soma of the Vedic religion. And this is like the birth of Zoroastrianism. This has so much to do with the origins of religions. Archaeologically, we can document it. We can document the role of cannabis in the Judaic world, both archaeologically, etymologically, and by placing the word into the Bible. We get this wholly new interpretation of the Bible. It's just as fabulous and just as religious as anything that's out there. It's just as magnificent and magical that somebody would receive revelations from a plant, and that's just as spiritual as imagining some sort of disembodied deity coming and giving that same information. Why is it different? You know, like everything is everything. And you know, like when you really think about it, like myself, I want to explain a little bit about my own cosmology here, just so you know where I'm at on this and where I've come to. You know, I can't explain to you how I got here, but I can explain to you a little bit about my own belief system. I never believe in any sort of reincarnation of the individual. I see that there's the continual reincarnation of evolving consciousness, and that we're all a part of that evolving consciousness. We all feed from it, and we all feed into it. Now, Carl Jung, he referred to this as a collective unconscious, and he said it was basically the force of instinct in humanity. And instinct is like information or knowledge that is passed down genetically. I'll give you an example. I had an Australian cattle dog, and his ancestors were taught to herd cattle by nipping at their heels. Well, whenever somebody would step into my house, although he'd never been on a farm, and though he wasn't raised around other cattle dogs, he would nip at the heels of the people that walked in and sit them down in a chair, because that's what he knew he was supposed to do. And Jung said that certain images, certain myths, certain archetypes appeal to us because they're in this hereditary memory we all share, and it's deep down embedded in us, it's unconscious. Well, I differentiate from Jung only slightly. I don't think this collective unconsciousness is unconscious. I think it's becoming aware of itself and us. And when I was collecting my research in my early years, and I'll do a show about this sometime to document this, I ran into so many profound situations of synchronicity that they just couldn't be marked down to coincidence. And it was almost like something was leading me through other people and bringing me certain information and stuff like that to bring me to a certain point. And that is in everybody, because it's acting through everybody. And when you think about it, there really is no individuality, you know, like even on an atomic level, you know. Like right now, there's old skin flakes peeling off my skin, and I went to the bathroom and poured out a bunch of excrement, and my nails are getting clipped, my hair is getting cut. And new stuff's coming in, and that new stuff is produced from me taking material outside my body and eating it and stuff like that, and it's recreating itself in my body, right? Likewise, I'm breathing air that's full of this atomic material, and the atoms of Jesus and Moses and Buddha and Gandhi and even Hitler are all in there each breath, you know what I mean? These billions of atomic particles, and they're all part of the same thing. Well, it's the same thing with consciousness. You know, like think about it. Do you believe the same ideas and hold the same concepts you did when you were 6 years old? You didn't hold those concepts when you were 7 years old, you know, and do you hold them now? So ideas are just coming and going. And you're taught who you are, you know, from the time you're born. Who are you? What's your name? And, you know, and slowly you begin to identify with all that. And my name's Chris, and I'm 6, you know, and you become this individual and this personality, and ingrained and separated from the wholer picture. And, you know, maybe that's necessary for reflective consciousness to take place. But I just kind of wanted to hit you with that just to see where I'm coming from on this religious thing, so I don't think that I'm like any sort of like great individual or anything like that. I'm not unhappy with myself by any means. But I just see myself as, you know, a sandman walking in sand, and we're all sand people walking in sand, and that sand's all part of that. And the ideas that I have are just based upon the ideas that other people had all the way back to the first ideas, you know. And this is the shared headspace known as anthropos to Gnostics of early Christianity, or else the logos, you know, the word, because that's really all it is it's the word. Words create our reality. That's how we understand it anyways. So anyway, so that's where I'm at religiously. But whatever that is, that collective unconscious, whatever you want to call it, Shiva or anthropos, or whatever it is, it likes cannabis. It likes cannabis, and that's why the sadhus in India are smoking the chilam to Shiva. Cannabis, every time people smoke it, look at it, a holy circle forms. People pass it. It's like this joiner. It brings people together. It's like people get in the same headspace. And this has a lot, you know, like I'm not going to explain it to you in this episode, but you go through my 45 shows on here and, you know, get back to me on it and tell me what you think about it, because that's the reality that we're dealing with, and that's the reality that is going to win this war. That knowledge and that history and that bond with us, our spiritual bond. There's only one way to fight religion, and that's with religion. And that's what we're going to do. And right up next, I'm going to tell you about some plans we have for filing a motion on religious freedoms here in Canada with Ed Pearson. And then after that, we're going to take a look at a couple of my co-workers in this field of religious study and belief. Tom Brown and Jeff Brown, they're no relation there, but they're a couple of American friends of mine that have been on the ganja path for a long time and been pursuing this and have similar court actions they're trying to pursue in the United States. And then I'll get back to you with the conclusion. So I hope you enjoy these interviews.